Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another classic cinema series episode with yours truly, Matt Brennan. I wonder how many people associate me with classic cinema. I feel like if I'm walking down the street, I don't look like like a classic cinema guy. I look like I was a random white Irishman walking around. But we're starting the new year with some Cary Grant, Howard Hawks' His Girl Friday, which is actually a remake. I don't know if a lot of people know that it's a remake. And Hollywood only does remakes, right? They only ever do remakes. But yeah, this is a remake of The Front Page. Actually, if you do own the Criterion release of this, I actually own, I think I own this movie like three DVDs and a Criterion, and then this is actually in a Columbia Classics box set, which I believe it's number four. Yes, I can see it on my shelf over there, number four. Which I think is out of print, and I don't think they're going to make any more of these boxes. But this is a 4K, and I know Criterion just did come out with a 4K. Um, but I'm rambling here, but um, on the Criterion 4K, I guess, or Blu-ray, the original film, the front page, is on there. So if you want to take a look at the front page before you watch His Girl Friday, but I assume if you're watching this right now, you will have seen His Girl Friday, or you're going to be spoiled with this movie. I don't know if I can really spoil it that much, but it's been around since 1940, so spoilers beware. But the original came out in 1931, uh, and the two leads, it was actually two men. And at this one, we have a male and a female, Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, who play ex-husband and ex-wife. They're both reporters, and I think the more I think about doing this classic cinema series, I'm sorry, I'm drinking coffee. You can hear me slurping, but I think what's important about doing this classic cinema series, but as well as doing um, our Millennial Icon series, as well as our Director series, is we're trying to hit like a wide range of cinema. Cinema isn't just now; it's been over 100 years, and for me personally, classic cinema is something that I don't know if I would say it's being lost, but in my mind, I feel like newer generations of people discovering movies, like say like a younger someone who's like 15 that wants to get into film, I feel like they're not going to be drawn to more classic cinema because a lot of the studios don't really promote their classic cinema or try and put them in theaters. And I do have the luxury of living in LA where there's theaters around here that play like classic films, and sometimes like the AMC Burbank will show a classic cinema, but I think there with channels like I know I always talk about the people that know me always know I talk about Turner Classic Movies and how important it was to me growing up and how important and I think it is to cinema in general. And this film plays on there a lot, His Girl Friday, and I mean, it should. It's His Girl Friday. But I think the importance of doing this series is that we can showcase these films that people know but have not really ever seen or haven't taken the time to see. I mean, these films starred massive, massive movie stars. And Cary Grant, I think I've talked about this in past weekly and news episodes where you had stars like a Cary Grant, Rosalind Russell, Katharine Hepburn, a Jimmy Stewart. These were names that people didn't even know the movies they were in. or the titles of the movies. I wouldn't say the movies are in the titles of the movies. They would say, "I'm going to go see the new Cary Grant picture. I'm going to go see the new Katharine Hepburn picture." These were movie stars, and it's nice to see actors when they go into say like the Criterion Closet. And I do love seeing actors when they pull older films from classic Hollywood and talk about just little moments within the film. The actors, these actors, I'm going all over the place here, but what, like, especially Rosalind Russell and Cary Grant in this film are able to do is they are incredible actors in this. And I think when people think of classic cinema, they think of actors that are, yes, they have transatlantic accents, as they would say, but I think people write it off as like, oh, it's old, it's boring, the acting's not good. Um, Obviously, they'll say that the filmmaking isn't good, and I kind of scoff at that because when you hear actors and directors in, like, say, the Criterion Closet, and they pull His Girl Friday from the shelf and talk about it, they're talking about the actors, they're talking about the filmmakers, they're talking about the sets and how incredible these actors are and their timing and their delivery. And I think being able to showcase the importance of these films. I mean, this film is almost 100 years old. It's 2026. This movie came out in 1940. In 14 years, this movie is 100 years old, which is also crazy to think about how the history of cinema is barely 100. It's it's not like these movies have been around forever. It's in a generational standpoint, yes, but movies today, I mean, yes, they're a lot different from these, but if you didn't have movies like this, actors like this, you wouldn't have what you have today. And I think that is what's important to highlight with this series. And I know I've done some classic episodes on the past with like Charade with Cary Grant, and um, I think we did I'm Robin Holiday, obviously, with Audrey and Gregory Peck. And it's, I think with this series is, I think the be able to showcase like, yes, these are considered popular classic films, but have you seen them? Have you heard of them? Have you only ever seen them once in the background, or have you actually sat down and watched the whole thing? I mean, this movie is only 90 minutes long, and I know I kind of talked over the first like 10 minutes here and about just classic cinema in general, but I think it's a good conversation to have. And I think that with channels like Turner Classic Movies, which I always try and champion, it's you can turn on that channel and be able to jump into these movies so easily. And I think that's what originally drew me to them, is that I was able to just put this on, and it was like it was like I was transported back to a time that I didn't live in, and I was watching something from a different viewpoint of, I'm like 18 years old or 15 years old, discovering movies and putting this on and realizing like, who's this actor? He's incredible in the scene. Who is this? And realizing it's Cary Grant. And then you realize that he's one of the biggest actors of all time. And then you go down the path of discovering more Cary Grant movies and realizing that, oh, this is the third movie he's worked in a row with Howard Hawks. And then you find Bringing Up Baby and with Katharine Hepburn, and you're realizing, oh, this actor is incredible at the screwball comedy. Like, he's incredible timing. And Peter Bogdanovich basically said that Cary Grant was he was the master of screwball comedy. Anyone else was just everyone else. Like, that was Cary Grant, and everyone else was everyone else. But I think just doing this series, and I know it's kind of starting like up more, and it's not. We only have like a couple episodes so far with that classic film, and I think classic film is just so important, especially to me, and preserving it and championing it and showcasing it. And giving other audiences that have maybe never seen a Cary Grant film the ability to watch it. So that's my spiel, I guess, for for um, kicking off this episode. I know I kind of just rambled around, kind of over this whole beginning, but I just think it's important, and I think it's important for us to talk about. Anyway, we can talk about the film that's in front of me that is playing. Um, but yeah, I did say that this is a remake of The Front Page, and Coward Hawks had bought the rights to the book, and I think he knew like it had been made before, and I think it was trying to be made again, and um, so he got the rights, and I think what Howard Hawks said about the film was that it was some of the best dialogue and the fastest talking dialogue he'd ever heard, but for the script that they made for this, they like changed, I would say, I think it was like half of the dialogue, and they changed a lot of it. And I think what's great about this movie is they they let scenes essentially play for a long time. Like this opening scene between him and Rosalind Russell, it's been like 10 minutes. I know I've been rambling for 10 minutes. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it's been like 10 minutes. And the quick pace of how fast they're talking, how they're talking over each other. And I think people, especially Howard Hawks, when he realizes like when they were making this and during pre-production, he realized that hey, when I'm having like a normal conversation with somebody, a lot of it is kind of talking over each other, talking at the same time, saying the same thing, interrupting. And to him, he said that seemed like way more natural type of dialogue as opposed to I have a line, then I deliver my next line, which is like obviously people need it. This is what 99% of movies are, but you have these screwball comedies, and then you had like say directors like or writers like Aaron Sorkin or Amy Sherman Palladino, they made Gilmore Girls. You have those types of creators and writers, and you can clearly tell that they're influenced by the screwball comedy and how fast those like again, but this type of dialogue is super fast. And again, nobody speaks this fast, but the idea of people talking at the same time and talking over each other is very real, and that does happen. I mean, I do it. I have trouble sometimes with not with interrupting people and realizing that I interrupted them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I should not have done that. Can you please say what you're gonna say? Um, I think with this film too, I think the script was like 150 pages, and the movie's only 93 or 92 minutes long, which means that dialogue, you are ripping through that dialogue, how fast that is. And he basically wanted to have Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, like when I'm about to finish my sentence, you're starting your next sentence. So when I do that, if I'm getting towards the end of my dialogue and you start starting your dialogue, it sounds like we're talking over each other, but if you hear it, you can kind of hear everything perfectly. It's just moving super, super fast. And that's exactly what he wanted to do. And he did give them um, range to improv. And I think Cary Grant had a lot easier time compared to Rosalind Russell because I think Rosalind Russell would get a lot of not, I guess not pushback, but she would come in with her like lines that she kind of wrote for the next day. And I think her and Howard Hawks would clash a little bit on how they wanted the character to be represented because again, in the original front page, this was two like reporters, two men, and they were just like at odds with each other. And I think it was smart to change it to female reporter to show that hey, females can also be like women can be reporters, not just fucking men. Women are great reporters too. I think especially with this scene, I was reading up on this scene. It took them a long time to film, and a lot of it had to do with they would improv the scene a lot, and I think sometimes it would work, sometimes it didn't work. Um, and then during this scene too, like that, like Grant grabbing her when she lit the cigarette, and he grabbed her hand and lit his first, like that's like improv there. That's what they would do, as in, and you can see the reaction between the two, and I think especially with that first scene, you can see the instant chemistry that him and Rosalind Russell had, and if which is kind of crazy because she was not even like the first choice for this. Hawks always wanted Cary Grant in the role. I mean, he had worked with him with Bringing a Baby, Only Angels Have Wings, and then this in a row. And when they were doing pre-production on this, he was actually still working on Only Angels Have Wings, um, which came out in the year before, 1939, which is considered the golden year of Hollywood. And like 1939 is an incredibly important year for Hollywood. But maybe I'll talk about that a little later. But it's the 19th one. But yeah, Grant was always like the first choice. But when they rewrote the role of and for Hildy and made it an ex-wife, but also a newspaper reporter, he first wanted Carol Lombard because they had been in 20th Century together, which came out in 1934. Um, but I think she was asking for a lot. Because I don't know at that time if she was signed to a studio. She was kind of more freelance. Like I guess he'd be like a freelance actor, like because obviously at the time a lot of these actors were signed to studios as opposed to now, and actors are essentially signed to movies. They're not essentially signed to, let's say, a Warner Brothers or Paramount or a Disney, Universal. These actors were signed to the studio. So when the studio would have them under contract, they can kind of tell them what movies they're going to be in. So, like, say you're Cary Grant or you're like Marilyn Monroe, like, hey, or like Betty Davis, hey, you're going to be in this since you cannot be in any Universal film. You're only going to be in our Warner Brothers films, and this is the script you have, and you're making The Letter or you're making Jezebel. Like that's what you're starring in now because I'm the head of the studio and I tell you what to do. Now some of these actors have bigger pull because they're bigger stars and they can come to the studio with scripts and directors and yeah, and kind of like that. And with Hawks, he always wanted Grant. We obviously had a working relationship so far. And excuse me, sorry. I don't know if you heard me burp there. I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, he'd always wanted with Grant and try to get Carol Lombard. And I think this was Columbia at the time. So I think Columbia just basically said, we can't afford her. She's asking for too much. So I think Hawks was a little disappointed in that. But he did then offer the role to Katharine Hepburn, Claudette Colbert, Margaret Sullivan, Ginger Rogers, and Irene Dunn. And they all turned the role down. I don't know if maybe they were um, the script was like maybe too long, or the dialogue was too much. I know Irene Dunn said that she felt that the part that she was going to be playing of Hildy was too small of a role, which is kind of when you watch it now, you can clearly tell it. Rosalind Russell commands the screen, and she's goes toe to toe with Cary Grant. And I think that's probably to Rosalind Russell's star power and how good of an actor she is that she can go to toe with Cary Grant, and she has that chemistry with him. And I think she's fucking great in this. Um, and I think also the problem with this when they were filming this scene is they obviously were eating. So when you're an actor and you start eating and they start doing a lot of takes, you're going to have to keep eating because you decided you wanted to eat. But I think they filmed that scene over like 3 or 4 nights, and it was a lot. I think it was a lot for them to do because they ended up eating a lot of food, and they were constantly changing dialogue because of improvisation, and yeah, that's what happens with improv, and sometimes it can drag the scene out or make the scene better, or you don't know, sometimes it makes the scene worse, and then you go back to the script and the original script and see what you had there. But Yeah, so when all of those actresses that I mentioned rejected the role, they even thought about Joan Crawford, but I don't think they mentioned they didn't offer it to her. I think again, I think she was at another studio at the time, and when you had other actors at studios, you could also ask the head of the studio, like, hey, you're gonna have to like pay essentially pay a fee to have that actor come to be in your one film that you want them to be in. You're gonna have to pay the studio that they're contracted for. You're essentially gonna pay them for have them have the actor be in your film. So you kind of have to do like double the pay. Honestly, you're gonna have to do double the pay of paying the studio than paying the actor. So it's very complicated all Hollywood, and it was kind of crazy to think about how actors would sign to studios, and sometimes they would refuse to be in films, and studios would refuse to pay them, and things would happen that way. But when after all those, Hawks then asked Rosalind Russell, and then I think she had just finished working on The Women with MGM, which came out in 1939, the year before this. I think she was originally upset that she was considered so late for the role. Um, I think she said that she felt like she was essentially a last ditch resort for the role because they had gone to so many before. Um, and before she even met with Hawks, I think she went for like a swim and like the pool or whatever, and she entered his office with like wet hair and caused him to do a triple take. 'Cause I think he didn't even like notice that it was her, but I think she wanted to show up and be like, "Hey, if you're gonna like think that I'm some latchdish resort, like you're just like, ah, whatever." Just get. I think in her mind, she probably thought that Hawks was kind of just like, whatever. Just get Rosalind Russell. But Rosalind Russell, probably in her mind, is like, whatever. I guess I got to work on this film with Howard Hawks. So, um, I kind of like that she kind of just kind of gave the same energy back. And I don't know if he took it well, but clearly on screen, they made the right decision because she is a powerhouse in this and she commands the screen with Cary Grant. And I'm glad they chose Rosalind Russell because I feel like this movie wouldn't be what it is without her. So I'm really glad they went with her. Again, you have like another, which I feel like, again, I like to compare a lot of these classic films to newer films and new cinema because a lot of these classic films, a lot of them, they allow scenes and to take like 10, 12 minutes and allow the characters to just be in one scene together. And things with a screwball comedy, there's going to be a lot of dialogue in this. So it makes sense why they would have filmed this over 3 or 4 days or 3 or 4 nights. And again, like we're about 23 minutes in, there's been essentially two sets they've been in. It's going to at like 11 minutes each. So I think a lot of the time classic cinema would let scenes play out as opposed to now. I mean, stories change over time, and this story is told pretty straightforward, and you don't need a lot of sets. Um, but what I think is good is you have this tension between Rosalind Russell and Cary Grant because they're ex-husband, ex-wife, and then you have her new partner here, which is her fiance, and you can see how she reacts or acts different with him compared to Cary Grant, and they clearly immediately can tell the relationship's so much different. And I think that's what's so powerful about this film is the star power that those two are able to have with each other. Because you can have actors that just don't have a lot of chemistry. And I watched a lot of movies in my life, a lot of TV shows, and I don't want to be the guy that says like I can tell when an actor has it and shows doesn't. I don't know. Maybe I have my head far up my own ass, but I think I can tell when an actor has it. And I think when I watch a lot of these older films, a lot of these actors, man, they fucking had it. They had the command of that screen. They had the command of the scene. They were movie stars. And I always bring it up. I know someone probably listening to this is like, if this guy brings up blocking one more fucking time, guess what? I'm bringing up blocking. Because you have this very simple shot here of all these three guys in the frame, and you're rack focusing back and forth between them. But you can see everybody. You can see everybody perfectly. They're all perfectly framed. Everything is meticulously thought out when it came to blocking and how each character was going to move through the scene and how they were going to move, where the camera was going to move because of their blocking. I actually love that pull out there when they said, "Oh, Hildy," and they looked at her off screen. And when they pulled out, she was in the shot with all of them because she is on the same level as them. She's just a reporter as well. Like it, they're going to treat her as a reporter and they respect her. So I love that. It cut to a wide there instead of just a close up of her individually. 'Cause cutting to a wide there with her in the same frame as them, subtle, but it shows a lot. And I think when they recorded that, not recording, when they were filming this, it was hard for I think Hawks to get certain dialogue because they were talking so fast. So I think in early filming, it wouldn't pick up a lot of the actors, not actors, it wouldn't pick up their overlapping dialogue. It was hard for it to pick up both of theirs. So I think he wanted like a multi-track recording, but the problem for that time is that that type of recording wasn't readily available yet. So what he did is he had the sound mixer on the set, like turn the various overhead microphones on and off as they required for each scene. So sometimes he's turning it off and on 35 times during a scene because he's essentially going to have two mics above them. Now they'd have like boom operators, but with those mics, he's turning them off and on because so he can pick up audio in certain areas as well as. So you got to be essentially what I'm imagining is you got to be super super quick with that, and I think it goes to show like unsung heroes of set work is like there's a lot of people working behind the scenes that don't get the credit for these films, and look at the credit and credits, but the importance of everyone that works on a film can't be like forgotten. I think it's yes, the stars and the director, they're the faces of it, but it's nice to see when say actors, directors win like awards or Oscars and they thank the crew because the crew is what helped them get that award. The crew is instrumental for that. And post production, sound work, they're also instrumental in putting this together, and the editor is instrumental in putting this together. And I think this movie has incredible editing. Um, it's fast, it's fast paced, yet it's not, which is weird. It's because it's weird to say that the editing is fast paced, but it's not. But I think they know when to cut at the perfect line of dialogue in two different shots, and by doing that, you're speeding the film up, but it's not slow. I don't know if I'm wording this correctly, but you're speeding it up, but it's not jarring, is what I think I'm trying to say. You're perfectly pacing how you're editing it with the pacing of the dialogue that you have. I'm sure they had a lot of footage to comb through if they're doing some improv, but what I think they did also in the editing is that Hawks had it sped up just a little bit. Not much that you can notice that it's sped up, but in order for the amount of dialogue and how they need the movie to move quick, they sped it up just a little bit so they can have essentially the most, like the fastest dialogue ever put on screen, which is obviously previously held by the front page, which is once again, a remake of this. And I think too, like with the improvisation, the improvisation, the improv throughout this film, I think it did make it difficult for the cinematographers to know like what the characters were going to do if they were going to change their blocking. I think that's where they did struggle with as well. If say if Cary Grant is going to change the way he's going to stand up for like if he's going to for this line, he's going to stand up and deliver it across the room. You as a cinematographer are probably going to have to also be improvisational about moving the camera and thinking like, okay, I got to trust this guy and what he's doing, but I also got to make sure I'm doing well. I'm doing my job correctly. And I think it did make for a difficult shoot in that sense. Um, but again, this is considered a classic film. And there's a reason why, because it's fucking great. It's fucking great. And crazy enough, this was not nominated for a single Academy Award. And when you listen, when you not listen, when you watch the movie, but obviously you listen to the dialogue, you kind of scratch your head and wonder why this wasn't nominated for a screen for writing or screenplay. Um, but over time, I mean, it was received very well critically and at the time, and it wasn't like it was bombed and everyone hated it. It was received very well, and I just think that I guess just at the time it just didn't get its due on in the state power of what it eventually became. And I kind of want to look up the Oscars of that year. So it'd be 1941 would be the 1940 Academy Awards. Um, took place on February 27th, 1941. So the 13th Academy Award. Um, yeah, pretty damn good year. I have Rebecca winning Best Picture. Great Dictator was nominated as well. The Letter, Philadelphia Story, starring Cary Grant. Um, and Long Voyage Home, John Ford. Ford had two pictures nominated for Best Picture. He did the Grapes of Wrath as well. Um, but yeah, John Ford won Best Director. Jimmy Stewart Best Actor. Um, I'm trying to see here, we go, Best Writing Original Screenplay. This would be an adapted, I assume, because it is a. I forgot that they had different. They had three different writing categories. They had Best Writing Original Screenplay, Best Writing Screenplay, Best Writing Original Story. So kind of wild. I would assume it would have been in this category, which is Best Writing Screenplay, and that would be The Philadelphia Story, which won, The Grapes of Wrath, Kitty Foyle, The Long Voyage Home, and Rebecca. Um, yeah, I think I would swap this out for The Long Voyage Home with Kitty Foyle. Um, I think it should have easily gone in there. The Philadelphia Story is one of my favorite classic films, and I probably would give it the win. I don't know over screenplay if this was in there. Um, kind of hard to say. I love them both. They both star my favorite actor. I don't know if you can tell so far, but Cary Grant is my favorite actor of all time. But I think this should have been in the conversation for having at least a best act. I think Rosalind Russell is fantastic in this. I think she should have been nominated for best actress, probably over. I don't know if I want to say over somebody, but if you could slide someone in, um, I would put her in best actress. I put Cary Grant in best actor for in best actor. Yeah, I put him in here. Kind of a insane lineup. We had Jimmy Stewart, Charlie Chaplin, Henry Fonda, Raymond Massey, and Laurence Olivier in that Best Actor lineup. And the Best Actress kind of lineup that year, you had Ginger Rogers, Betty Davis, Joan Fontaine, Katharine Hepburn, and Martha Scott. But yeah, it's kind of tough. Not every movie can be nominated for Oscars. I do like the Oscars. I do like watching them every year. But in the end, are the Oscars the be all end all of cinema? No, they're not. And with Cary Grant, especially, I don't know if people know this or not, but the great Cary Grant was only nominated for two Academy Awards and he never won an Academy Award. He's got an honorary Oscar, um, but he never won an Academy Award. So it just goes to show that sometimes the biggest stars don't even have statues. And sometimes it's just a statue. To me, it's is Cary Grant have the power to get people to watch classic cinema? Is people see that face and know that's Cary Grant? Then I think you've made it. And I love that in this scene when she comes in to talk about to do them. Now we're at an it's later in the day, the lighting's changed, the mood has changed. The thing about with this film is that it's kind of jarring switches in like tone. Like it has the screwball comedy. Obviously, it's a screwball comedy, but there are moments in it where it completely just kind of changes quickly. I was showing this to Tony the other day, and he loved it. But I was talking about the tone with him, and he even like kind of agreed. He's like, "Yeah, it's kind of shocking. Like some of the things that happen, you're like, oh, like that kind of came out of nowhere." Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, it's. But I think you can again, like I always say, like if your script's good enough, you can do that. You can have jarring things that happen because the script's good enough. You already we're what? We're about 37 minutes in right now, almost 38 minutes, and you've established this is the how fast we're talking, um how this film is going to be. So now that we're 40 minutes in, we can get to what the actual film is about. And this film is essentially about journalism in a way and how journalism can affect what's going on outside. And obviously, just looking outside there, that you have the power to write words on something that maybe like you're just doing a story on it, but someone's greatly affected by the story you're doing it on. Obviously, she is greatly affected, and her husband is in jail right now, and she's trying to get him exonerated and saying he's lying. And these reporters are just reporting on what people have told them, and I love that that's the shot here of when she leaves after doing that, and they all go dead silent because they know that their words do have power. And I think having them all in this scene and they're not going to scoff or laugh. It's real what they're doing, and they can be greatly affected too by what they do and show frustration and realize that yeah, they sometimes and great. What I love about it is like he lets the camera sit here and he lets it play. He lets the scene play out, and I think it's great to have Rosalind Russell come back in and then say, "Gentlemen of the press, you guys consider yourselves gentlemen, but look at how you treat some people without knowing that you treat them that way." When I think about Rosalind Russell too, is when she's in that scene, she again to show the power of them, she overpowers, like she commands the screen. She stands out so easily to me. If there's not an ounce of like hesitation in her act, like there's not an ounce of hesitation in her character. She knows exactly what she's doing. And obviously, this movie would have been very different if other people starred in it, but I think it's again, it's incredible that she is who's in it because I don't see anyone else playing that role of Hildy. She is Hildy, and I don't think I can see anyone else in that role. And people say like, oh, well, it's because they didn't have everyone turned it down, so it would have been someone else if they didn't. But kind of glad they turned it down because Rosalind Russell is in fucking incredible in this scene. Incredible. Not the scene, the movie. It's incredible in every scene, but she's incredible in the movie. It's kind of funny because I did look up like what does a girl Friday, like his girl Friday, like what does it mean? Um, and I guess it's kind of like ironic because a girl, quote unquote, Friday, like, represents a servant of a master, but obviously Hildy is not a servant in this. She's equal in pairing with Cary Grant, and if anything, she's the power dynamic in her own relationship. She is the I wouldn't say like controlling of it, but she is the one that's most confident, I would say. And I think she treats her fiance in the film uh, a lot different than obviously how she treats um, Cary Grant, her fiance Bruce here. Like Bruce is kind of played as like he's not like a dumb guy. He's not dumb. He's just an average guy, and he's nice and all, and he's just not as quick and witty as she is, and Cary Grant is as quick and witty as she is, and that's why their chemistry is shown more as opposed to she has chemistry with him, but it's a different type of chemistry. It's more of a subdued chemistry. And Ralph Bellamy plays the subdued kind of not like lazy but subdued average guy very well. And he kind of the way he kind of stumbles over things and he's always carrying that umbrella and he's always holding things like but again, you have this moment in the film here, like it's been kind of comedic up until this point, and now we've had to have this scene of it's gotten pretty serious ever since the guy in jail's wife came here. Um, she's the tone has changed and everyone's a lot more the dialogue it kind of feels like it's slowed down a little bit and that's kind of due to the tone change um, you realize when you kind of pull once again kind of pulling her away from Grant they're kind of doing opposite things now but it's just interesting how again the editing is still the same they haven't done anything but you've kind of removed the fast-paced dialogue, but then you pick it back up. Like obviously she's doing right now, you're picking that fast-paced dialogue back up, and they're kind of perking up a little bit. But for a bit there, the film did slow down about in the basically, and now you're in the second act. The film did slow down. Um, but again, you can have those tone changes if your script is good enough. And again, the script is fantastic. So one thing I did notice when I like whenever I rewatch this film is there's no music. There's music at the beginning with the title cards, and then there's like the end credits and everything, but there's no music in this. It's very, again, it's trust in your script if you're going to have no music in this, which is unusual for like the films at this time. And a lot of these films at this time, they had music 'cause they just had music, and I don't think anyone wanted to not have music in the film. But I think it just shows the confidence in Hawks and how good the script was and how good the tone of the film is that we don't need music to generate any type of emotion, whether it be laughing, sadness. We can do this all with the actors we have, the script we have, and the tone we have. I'm confident enough to be able to put this out without any music. And for 1940, for a film to not have a single like score minus the beginning and ending is pretty ballsy, I would say. Like I'm sure some people that are first time watching this, maybe they get to, I don't know, say we're about 45 minutes in now. They get 45 minutes in and they realize that, hey, I don't think there's been any music so far. Again, it's confidence and you know what you have. You know the film you have and how the script is fucking great. And here we go here. So again, they were getting more the tone was going back to that comedy thing, and what do you have? A jailbreak. These cops just randomly start shooting up there. But again, it's kind of it's not like it's I don't know if the word is jarring with how like this type like it kind of comes out of nowhere, but I guess that's real life. It's and here's a perfect example of you're using the dialogue for quick editing there. You're using your fast-paced dialogue, but you're also using it in your editing there. And how fast they were compared to Rosalind Russell now. Like she's got to now do her reporting for her newspaper, and again, it switches on a dime. I always wondered with those sirens. Like, do you think that was that guy's job? Like he was just a siren guy. Like he's gonna be outside. Oh, crime committed. You get a siren. Maybe a siren guy. I need a siren guy. Man, this film was received very well by critics and audiences. I know Pauline Kael is one of the most famous critics of all time. Love this film. She was enthusiastic about it. She said overlapping dialogue carries the movie along a breathtaking speed. And Rosalind is at her peak, comedy peak here. Walton Grant raises mugging to joyful art. um, I think like even Leonard Maltin, like he splendid comedy. And again, like those are like critics later on, and I would go back and revisit these films. But I think showing that those critics realize just how, like honestly, this is probably the best fast-paced comedy ever made. With just how fast this film moves, and I think just whenever I watch this, you realize that how every single actor needs to be constantly on, like constantly on. You flub one line, and we're moving so fast. You better know your damn lines. I think too with Cary Grant's character in this and his Only Angels Have Wings character and in bringing up baby and he kind of plays it's not the same character but he kind of his character in these Howard Hawks films kind of play these same um I guess character it's not a flaw but it's a they don't really change throughout the movie they're kind of the same like they don't really develop anymore or less or change but they remain themselves and I think that's what Cary Grant is so good at doing is showing not showing but being able to be the same exact character with his delivery of line, like the tone that he has the character at from the start of the film to the end of the film, especially in these Howard Hawks films that he did. Um, like he's the same. He brings the same energy. He doesn't change at all. And I think him working with Hawks, it kind of shows that I feel like Hawks has these characters in his films where while the story's changing around them, the characters remain themselves. No one really changes that much. Um, and I think that it shows maybe is that who is that kind of how Hawks feels about some people that even though the world changes around you and you kind of still you can either adapt to what's happening or you remain the same person that you want to be. And I don't know if I'm probably overanalyzing this, but and obviously here's Cary Grant about to do like this is like the type of comedy where like he's basically gonna go get her fiance arrested for trying to pick someone up and like this is his idea of a joke and but I think it just shows that it's also kind of the trust with the actor and like obviously Grant and Hawks worked worked well together and that's why they made the films that they made together and I'm glad they did because I think these are some of Cary Grant's best performances. I mean, I think my favorite performance of Cary Grant. I mean, like older film, not older film, but later career Cary Grant when he got to like the late 50s and 60s. Him starring in North by Northwest, which is probably my favorite performance of his. But then you had films like Bringing Up Baby, um, obviously His Girl Friday, which we're watching, and you had Arsenic and Old Lace, which I think he is fantastic, and I think that might be his best performance he's ever given. But I still think North by Northwest is my favorite performance of his. Um, but I think it just goes to show that like you have actors and directors that work together a lot. Like you have right now, you have Emma Stone and Yorgos Lanthimos working together a lot because it's the trust between them. And Hawks can trust that Grant can give him what he can give him because he's Cary Grant. He's one of the best, I think, one of the best comedic actors that has ever worked. He is, again, incredible with his dialogue. See, like this scene is too is fantastic to show how Rosalind Russell can bring that type of energy that Cary Grant gives, and she's been going back and forth on these phones, doing a lot of physical acting, and you have to bring match that same energy that Cary Grant is giving you because you are kind of the same person as him, and you got to match that fast-paced dialogue energy that he brings. And I think I was looking it up. I was wondering, like, I guess the average word count, I guess, per minute in this film is like 240, I think, and the average word count for like an American, not American, of anyone, I guess if these were real reporters in, I don't know, New York, um, I guess they would say the average word per minute, 140 if you're all talking. Um, so that just shows how fast they are talking. They're almost almost doubling how quick you talk in a minute. And again, you have to again know your lines, know your timing and how you're going to deliver these lines, and probably does a lot of rehearsing, and that could be all in the rehearsing. And I feel like this type of fast-paced dialogue too, like a lot of the stage work is probably stage trained actors. They know the importance of timing and delivery, especially timing and delivery. Um, yeah, it's the importance of having. What am I trying to say here? It's the importance of having confidence in knowing what you're doing. If you're going to be making a film like this that has so much dialogue, that is moving so fast, um, that is so fast paced with the editing, you have to have also confidence in the actors that you're hiring to be in this film can give you that fast paced dialogue. If you're falling behind, you're going to be left behind, I feel like. And you got to make sure you know what you're doing. And I think some of these smaller roles in this don't get credit for. They're also keeping up pace with the same pace that Rosalind Russell and Cary Grant are doing. They're keeping up that same pace, but they're not as big a stars, so they're not going to get the recognition that those two get. But and again, if these actors are giving you different styles and pacing and delivery of what they're doing, it's going to be a different film. It's going to be like you're watching two different films. These actors in a different film compared to what Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell are doing. And that goes to show you in the directing that he can also get performances out of these other actors that are the same, that are same just as fast, just as energetic. And it shows just how good Hawks directed this film. He directed it incredibly fucking well, like incredibly fucking well. And I think when people do think of screwball comedies, I think their mind goes to probably this first, is Girl Friday, and then maybe like Bringing Up Baby is obviously well known as well, and then 20th Century, obviously, too, which I mentioned earlier. Um, but again, it's just funny that this is technically a remake of a movie that came out in 1931, and some people don't know that, and I also think it's funny that like you look at John Carpenter's The Thing too, and that's a remake of a film that came out called The Thing from Another World, which came out in the 50s, and a lot of sometimes the more popular versions become the more popular versions are remakes. And you had Scarface. And Scarface in the 80s is way more popular than the Scarface in the 30s. Paul Mooney. It's but again, some people probably don't know that this is a remake, and until you tell them, hey, this is a remake of The Front Page, which came out in 31. And you watch the front page, and then this isn't a bad movie either. This is a good movie. And if you, again, you can, I know I kind of rip on remakes and sequels a lot, but sometimes remakes can also be good. They can also be a really good movie as well. And this is now considered one of the greatest films ever made. It's in the Library of Congress. It's in the National Film Registry, and importance for cinema, and rightfully so. It deserves to be in there. Um, I think I think this is on the AFI list. I'm not sure how far up or down it is. I don't think they put out a new list um, in a long time. Um, AFI usually puts out. It used to put out a list. I feel like every 10 years to update for anything new, anything old they may have overlooked. But I think this was on there. I'm not entirely sure it still is in a new recent list. I don't know when the last recent list was, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, I think a lot of actors probably study this film and how you can show the physical comedy, especially with Rosalind Russell. Like, I wouldn't say it's physical comedy in a sense, but it's how you carry yourself in these screwball comedies, and how you can have power within how you move within the frame, and you're still in a comedy. I love about this scene too or this shot, is the lighting completely changed to a noir vibe look, which obviously is like pre-noir, not a noir really wasn't a genre yet in 1940, but the lighting changed to more so like he's pointing the gun. This isn't a happy like from what our first scene was with her and Cary Grant. The set's completely lit up. It's you're getting the vibe there, but it seems like you as the film is going on, you're bringing the lighting slowly in. You're slowly turning lights off because it's more serious. And again, it's early lighting changes and the pre Hal noir became a massive genre, and it's still is especially a genre for old Hollywood. And but I think too it was incredible when we were watching this. Me and Tony were watching this the other day. Was this last like 30 minutes of this film take place all in this room? I'm pretty sure. I don't think it leaves this room. Yes, I love this right here. The camera movements back and forth and her having to go back and forth. I think if I was an actor here, I would completely mess up my line, say the wrong line on the wrong phone. I even think Rosalind Russell, like her performance here is so be I think she was kind of the lowest lane for the I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry guys. The 78 version of Superman, Christopher Reeve. Um that like version of Lois Lane was kind of modeled after this character that of Hildy that Rosalind Russell plays. So it goes to show that hey, a movie that comes out 38 years later is referenced to be like, yeah, I want you to be like all Rosalind Russell in the front page. I almost said All About Eve. I'm sorry because the All About Eve criterion is looking at me right now. I was staring at it when I was trying to think of, think of that. So I almost said All About Eve. She's not in All About Eve. But yeah, again, like you have this tone change of um, it's just a screwball comedy, and you have this darkness in this film right now. They're hiding this guy that's escaped because she believes that he is innocent, and that's his wife. And you have like this, and again, the tone changes, and now you're gonna have who they're looking for. He's in the room now. He's gonna be in the room now for the next 30 minutes. And what you do as a director and set designer is you showcase now prior to this happening. You didn't even know that that desk was there, probably. You probably, it was been there the whole time, but you didn't even notice it. Now your eye can't go away from it. And that's in this shot here. You pull back and have everyone come in, and then you keep that desk in the frame. And now your eye's going to keep looking at that because that's where the person that is hiding that they're looking for, he's right there. And now the audience knows he's there, but they don't know he's there. Again, it's like something you can even use a simple object in the room that you didn't even know before. Now he's right in front of you. He is right there. And that's where he's hiding. And you didn't even know he was there before. I feel like it'd be, because I mean, TCM's been around like 93, I think, 1993. I'd be curious to see like stats on, I'm sure they probably have this logged in their own library and how many times certain films have played over the years. I know they have to negotiate rights to these films to play them, especially if they're coming from another studio, um, in order to have to, because I think late last year was the first time that The Sound of Music even ever played on Turner Classic Movies, which is kind of crazy to think about. You would think Sound of Music plays on Turner Classic Movies a lot, but it doesn't. It just premiered there. So, um, but I'd be curious to see, since going back to 1993, how many times His Girl Friday has played on the channel, um, and the stats of what films are played the most, whether it be screwball comedies or noirs or just straight drama, war films. Um, I'd just be curious to see those stats because I'm sure this film has played a lot on Turner Classic Movies, and it is a quintessential classic. It is like they would say the Godfather of screwball comedy. And there's screwball comedies made before, but this is the most popular one. And I've always wondered like the stats of that. And I'm sure this film plays two or three or four times a year on the channel, maybe even more. We'll do the math. That's a lot of times this is played. But I don't know if you could tell, but I think I clearly want to work for Turner Classic Movies. Again, shockingly, she just jumped out the window. I don't know where. She just jumps out the window. And for the first time I watched this, I was like, wait, what? It's if you like turn away for a second, you jumped out the window. It's funny that not funny, but it's kind of wild that as soon as she jumps out the window is when Cary Grant walks in. And what does Cary Grant do first? He goes to Rosalind Russell, and then he even checks the desk because like he was smart enough to check the desk. Yeah, I agree with Peter Bogdanovich. I think the more I watch Cary Grant and realize how good at physical comedy he is and all this stuff, there was Cary Grant, and then there was everyone else. And I agree. There was Cary Grant, and then there was everyone else. It might be biased though, because he's my favorite actor, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong. There's Cary Grant, and then there was everyone else. But yes, I mean I've probably talked about this a lot on. I don't know if I've ever talked about this a lot on a podcast or probably just in general, but I think one of my like dreams is to own my own movie theater. Not like a AMC like eight. Like, no, I don't want eight screen. I want that one screen, that one theater that's kind of like a old theater, but it's not old. It's made to look old. Like there's one screen, and I just think that for me, if I had that, like I'm good. I own this theater. I play all these classic films throughout the day. I get to put them on, watch people watch them for the first time. And I just think it'd be amazing to stream a film like His Girl Friday on a Saturday or Sunday morning at 10 a.m. A nice cup of coffee in a packed theater of people that have either loved this film or have never seen it. And then that goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode of the power that these classic films can have. Because for me, I think just what we're watching right now is the reason why I got into film, went to school for film, got a degree in it. Um, I think this era of cinema is incredibly important to me. I think it allowed me to realize that a film can be anything. Classic film just gives me a sense of comfort in what I'm watching and how I feel about cinema. And I think that's part of the reason why, like again, like a dream is to work for Turner Classic Movies. And I was incredibly lucky enough to have Ben Mankiewicz on this podcast and was able to talk to him about his career at TCM and not only able to talk to him about a little stuff, but not for a long time. But we did talk about Cary Grant for a little bit, and he loves Arsenic and Old Lace, and we were talking about just how good Cary Grant is, and there really isn't like a bad performance to take from it because he's in like some not great movies, but he's never bad. He's always Cary Grant. Um, I think just being able to also tell Ben like how important finding Turner Classic Movies was and how important it's been to me for a long, long time. And I'm always going to be championing showing showing people classic cinema. I was able to show my best friend this, and he loved it. And I asked him how he was feeling halfway through, and he said, I love this. I love every second of this." And I think that's what the power of cinema has is it's not going to see the big new blockbuster. I think what the power of cinema has is showing the people that you love and care about the films that you love and care about. And I think that's why I do want to eventually own my own movie theater. It could be awesome to have it in LA and being able to screen His Girl Friday to a group of people that have never seen it before in a theater where you should be seeing films. And I know a lot of theaters don't play classic films, but you have like the New Beverly and the Vista and the Arrow here and American Cinematheque, Los Feliz 3. They're always playing classic cinema, and it's great to see. You get to watch them on film, and you have the privilege of living in LA and being able to go to that stuff. But I want everyone to be able to have access to stuff like that, and I think having more theaters, and even if it's just one screen, the theater that I own and I incredibly care about, and I think it's important to be to show these classic cinema, and show all cinema on the big screen. That's what it's for. It's an experience. And I know I keep kind of talking over the what's happening in the movie, but I think it's great. Give him some air, much some air in with his hand. It's always great. I love Carrie. Um, but also too, here's just now we see them like now we see both of them actually working together, and you see how well they work together. You have Cary Grant as the distraction. He knows. I just think that their chemistry is some of the best chemistry you'll ever see in film. And I still feel like it gets talked about. Like I feel like obviously people know His Girl Friday, but and again, that's probably also the Rosalind Russell aspect of it, where she's not getting the credit where she should be getting the credit, and we should be championing this role, and that she gives one of the best performances I think of all time, and it shouldn't be overlooked. It shouldn't be overlooked. And I love this shot too here because you have again in the blockings she didn't need in the beginning to look at them. She was just reacting to Cary Grant's improvisation of. I feel like I keep stuttering over that word. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I keep stuttering over that word. Um, I think you have that, and it could be within your improv of um, I'm not going to look at them in the scene. I'm going to react to Carrie's improv of what he wants to do, and that's just my natural reaction to it. I think it gives you the confidence too when you're acting across from someone that is good with the improv, but you can match him or her. I think it shows again, talk about confidence a lot in this episode, but it shows the confidence in the filmmaking and the actors and the scripts. I know they probably had trouble with a lot of the improv and messing up and maybe not being able to, the cinematographers had trouble. And so, but in the end, when you see it all put together, it clearly worked. It worked. They took a risk and it worked. the script is a risk, how much dialogue you have, it works, and it's fucking great. It's fucking great. And I think too with when I talked about it earlier, where I have like I don't know 4 or 5 copies of this movie floating around in this in this room that I'm in right now. Um, what I love about like Criterion and I think the 4K that I have in the Sony box set, like they have different special features on there, and they both have different commentary tracks, which obviously clearly I like commentary tracks because I centered an entire podcast around doing commentary tracks. Um, but what I love about commentary tracks is are the special features on Criterion or Arrow, or they give a lot of special features. I know a lot of studios now they kind of be bare bones. Here's the movie on 4K. Sorry, there's not a lot of special features. Here's the movie, which I'm still thankful for that we still get physical media. But I think too with championing physical media and cinemas, having those special features on there, commentary tracks with the actors and directors and featurettes and interviews, like you can see and learn so much about filmmaking just from those alone and how films are put together and hear the director and actor talk about each scene. And I know I'm kind of talking over a lot of these scenes, but I think as we go more into this classic cinema series and especially where the direction the podcast is going to be going in now, I think it's going to be a lot more in-depth talking on filmmaking. I know we have talked about it in the past, but we're trying to show that we're trying to show that when you take time and effort into especially filmmaking too, like this stuff works. And I think that's what I love about commentary tracks. And I think commentary tracks are a lost thing on especially any physical media, especially for new movies. A lot of new movies don't have commentary tracks that are released unless they're released on Criterion. Criterion tries to do a lot of special features, or Arrow will have a lot of special features. Um, I love War Archive. I'm loving that they're slowly putting out some 4Ks and they're putting out block sets of all their Blu-rays that they've had, but a lot of those special features are very bare bone. They don't have a lot of stuff on them. And again, I'm thankful to have physical media and you have like stuff like the Criterion Channel, where if you, I think this is currently streaming on the Criterion Channel. They'll add some of the special features in there where you can do your own research too. And like, wow, I really like that. I kind of want to watch this 30-minute interview with Howard Hawks, and he's talking about the filmmaking aspect of it. And you realize like, oh, I didn't know all that. And, which I think is the power of cinema too, is the power to like what TCM does, which I love, is like I feel like I have like Hulu Live TV, and I've had to create like multiple like profiles because I record Turner Classic Movies too much because I just want to watch the intro and closing with the hosts that they have, especially if my man Ben Mank is hosting it. But what I love about this is they'll introduce the film and give a little bit of 2 to 3 minute like monologue on the film itself and the era it was made and what I love, you kind of get locked in to it and when these films end, you kind of forget that, oh yeah, this is I forgot Ben Mankiewicz was hosting this is on Turner Classic Movies, and there's a famous little gif here of when he says "Get out," Cary Grant, and he goes "Get out." People use that a lot as a reaction gif, but um, to go back to what I was saying, it's like TCM kind of takes the time to create these showings every night of a host a host coming in and explaining the film they're about to watch and what's going on behind the scenes, any fun facts that they have, and then they'll let the film play, and at the very end, they'll come back in and wrap it up with some more facts behind the scenes, the legacy of the film that you just watched. And a lot of the time, I think that helps with showcasing these films and the importance of them. And the movies are an experience that you can either have by yourself, which is also fine, but I think again, the power of cinema is showing the films you love and the time and care of taking the time and care of showing someone that you love the films that you love is what I think ultimately what anything is about when it comes to cinema. It's how these films react in, maybe not react, how these films make you feel and how powerful they can be, whether it be a screwball comedy or a noir. And what I love about, especially like Cary Grant, is when I first saw him as an actor, um, I think it may have been Charade, maybe Philadelphia Story was playing on TCM when I was younger. But I can immediately tell that this guy commanded the screen, and especially in the scene here too. Rosalind Russell and Cary Grant, to me, like obviously they're the main actors, but there's a reason they're the main actors. They completely stand out. The physical right there, the look off, and if you look kind of at the very end of that, it looks like Cary Grant almost starts laughing. Also, a very tall actor. I love that. Excuse me, madam, are you referring to me? The way he says me is so good. Yeah, Cary Grant was like 6 foot, 6'1". Tall for an actor. A lot of actors aren't that tall. But again, I think it's probably almost been, 20 minutes ago, I said this entire final scene takes place in this room, and it's been in this room the whole time. And look at this blocking here. Incredible blocking here. Here's your little bit of physical comedy there. He's right here. He smacks back, but I'm sorry if you're like, oh, Pat, you kind of rambled on about Turner Classic Movies. Hey, I'm gonna ramble about Turner Classic Movies every classic cinema episode. So if you don't like it, then tough luck because I am Pat TCM Brennan. TCM, please sponsor the pod. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna beg for beg for TCM to sponsor. But TCM, thank you for existing because if you didn't exist, I would have never probably ever seen His Girl Friday when I was younger and I've never put it on. But thank you for I know a channel isn't listening to this, but thank you for existing is what I'm saying. Thank you for changing me, wanting to get into classic film, wanting me to get into cinema. Thank you for being there for me when I was younger, showing me what cinema really is. Like I'm getting deep right now, I'm getting deep in thought. I love their costume too, where he's got the black tie and white shirt and kind of gray suit, and she's got the gray shirt underneath with the black and the white stripe. Kind of opposites, but not really opposites, and it's great. So I feel like it's always hard to pull off like those types of hats too. Like it kind of reminds me of like it's not an Indiana Jones hat, but like that vibe of a hat. Like I feel like only certain people can pull them off. Obviously, Harrison Ford can pull it off in Indiana Jones, but I think with this, like Cary Grant with the hat tilted, I think it just he pulls it. It looks freaking great, and it's just like that type of hat where it's kind of like a it's kind of looks like it's crooked on him. Like he's a crooked guy. He needs a crooked hat. I hope you've listened this far. Thank you for listening to me talk for this entire movie. I hope you have watched His Girl Friday before, and this isn't the first time you're watching it. I always hope that sometimes when we post episodes for the podcast and they see like, His Girl Friday's coming, that they watch the movie first and then watch the. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can press play when I press play and just watch along with me. And well, the main goal is to encourage people to watch the movie before and then come back and listen to the track and see if they picked up on anything that I was saying or that they didn't notice, or maybe they had other thoughts on the film that I didn't mention or that they noticed. And you can always reach out and let me know what you thought of His Girl Friday, what you thought of the episodes, and how we're doing on this classic cinema series so far. I'm hoping to keep this going for a long, long time, and hopefully we can explore the world of classic cinema together because there's a lot out there, and it's I'm really, really excited to keep going down this path. And of course, we're going to watch more Cary Grant films, but I'm glad that we're kicking off the new year with some great episodes and having this classic cinema series and within the pod is incredibly important to me. And I cherish every interaction I have with people that say that when I mention a classic movie or they watched a movie from the pod. And I hope that my main goal is for someone to watch His Girl Friday this week or next year and next month, or they've seen it before and they tell me that, hey, like I love His Girl Friday, and when I listened to your episode on it, it made me love it even more. And I think that's what my main goal for this thing is to showcase everyone's passion for these movies and cinema, and giving you another outlet to watch along with me, watch along on a film that means a lot to me and an actor that means a lot to me and an era of movies that mean a lot to me. And I'm gonna get emotional here, but for me, it's a big, big thing, and I love doing this. And doing this classic cinema series is going to be a big thing for me, and it's going to be it's going to be great. And I hope you all enjoy the ride, enjoy the amazing ride. I mean, you got to have the film start and end together. Ooh, a little kiss for tension there. Maybe they still like each other. I don't know. They might. Oh, I love that reaction of I'm still here and her like sprinting over to the just her like her acting there was so like it wasn't it seemed like it was desperate, but it wasn't. It was just it's almost like she doesn't want to leave the room. Like she doesn't want to leave. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And here you go. The music finally starts. Of course, it starts when we're at the end of the film. But this is the first time you see like an honest interaction between them. It's at the very end of the film. She breaks down and he realizes that, oh, maybe I have gone too far. Like, but I actually love that there is no music in this film up until this point because again, it shows just how fucking good this movie is and how the legacy of it has lived on. Even when you watch a film like No Country for Old Men, who's to say they didn't watch His Girl Friday to realize how they can get the tone for not having any music? What do you have to do? There's no music in No Country for Old Men. You didn't know until the very end credit. Classic, classic Hollywood ending. Mhm. Right back to the end. Don't you want to go to Niagara Falls for your honeymoon and watch Niagara Falls? I mean, it just shows that like this is Hollywood, man. It's just this is just a classic Hollywood ending. And they get back together. And thank you for joining me for His Girl Friday. And I hope you love the episode. I love doing it for you.